Welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. Hi, I'm Jeannie, joining you from the ACC Community Room today. We will be starting at the back of the mat as usual with some warm-ups, our modified walking sun salutations, and then making our way down to the mat for today's class. We'll have one brief balance exercise between our standing and our cooling down practice at the end. So if you have a chair nearby, you might need to hold on to it, or at that time you can go to a wall or just, stay put with something close by that you might be able to hold on to if you should lose balance. So that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And just take your time. No need to change the way that you're breathing, but as you arrive, just notice how you are feeling. Feeling the mat under the feet, noticing the heartbeat. Now, as you start to focus in, just start to quiet down. Pretty soon, you can focus on cultivating our yogic breath. Let's go ahead and put our left palm on our chest, right palm underneath the belly button, giving ourselves a comfortable mountain. Let's focus on our breath. Inhaling through the nose. A pause before you start your slower, more controlled exhale through the nose. One more brief pause to end that breath cycle. We'll just be moving along with each breath cycle, sort of like an ocean wave. As you inhale, feel the chest lift, lungs expand, maybe even the collarbones lifting at the top of the inhale. And as you slowly let the air leave the nose, gently press in the bottom belly hand, engage the core, and help press out that last bit of air. And we can bring our hands down to the sides, just nice and relaxed arms. We'll go ahead and focus on our mountain once more. Inhale, start to feel energy drawing through the legs, up the spine, through the crown of the head. And on the exhale, feel that energy returning through the body, to the mat, to the earth. And at the bottom of the exhale, that gentle engagement of the core. With the next inhale, we'll start to feel the center of gravity rolling towards the toes. Body is upright. Stop at that tipping point. And then use the next breath to start to roll the center of gravity at the feet towards the heels. And once more until you feel that subtle tipping point towards the back. Take the next couple of breaths and just find that heel to toe muscle memory at the foundation of our feet. And then we can meet at center in our mountain, dropping in. We'll inhale to reset, feeling energy lifting upwards. And then on the exhale, go ahead and roll the weight towards the outer right edge of your feet. Inhale all the way over to the other side for a two-part breath. Exhale to the other side. And a couple of breath cycles here helps us to develop that sense of center in the horizontal plane of our foundation. There at the feet. We'll meet at center once more. Inhaling nice and tall. Go ahead and start making small circles at the ankles with the body upright. Imagine a big wooden spoon in the pot, keeping contact with the bottom. As it starts to get wider, at the lip, the top of the pot. And once you find that perimeter around the feet, you can go ahead and tighten in the circles. And like water going down a drain, we'll meet centered back in mountain. Inhaling once more, resetting our mountain. Let's go ahead and start rotating while we're still energized upwards in the opposite direction. And just notice any differences here. For me, sometimes it can be a little choppier, a little less circular, a little more smoothing out of corners. So just give yourself that time to find the perimeter in this direction, and then we'll return to meet at center. Go ahead and reset, lift the toes, lift the heels if you need. And in our mountain, a little taller, a little longer with each return to our home base here. We'll go ahead and inhale, nice and tall. And we're just going to start to pivot towards the left. The entire body, we lift up the ball of the foot, pivoting on the left heel. Go ahead and start to turn and pivot, shift the foundation so that you pivot on the right heel. And then we're just going to start slowly moving naturally from side to side, lifting the ball of the foot, pivoting on the heel. And as we get a little more momentum, you'll find a groove. You'll find something of a movement of the upper torso, maybe a split second after the hips. Maybe the arms starting to gain momentum. Just start swinging naturally, relaxed at the sides. And hopefully you're just feeling a gentle movement in the shoulders, hips, ankles. And then we'll come back to center. Go ahead and reset in our mountain once more. We're moving up the body, up to the shoulders. Palms are facing forward. Shoulders are nice and wide away from the ears, a gentle tuck of the chin. Inhale, we'll bring the shoulders up towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll them back, and just let them melt down the back on the exhale, fully tucked into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. Core engaged. And as we are going through our set of 4, with the inhales lifting the shoulders and the exhales rolling them back, down, flat against the back. And then we'll start our second set, lifting up the shoulders. We roll them forward on the exhale this time, still tucking them into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. See if you can get a nice smooth movement and just getting the shoulders open and lubricated, seeing if you have any tightness in that area. We'll go ahead and reset once more in our mountain, nice and tall, moving up to the neck, facial opening, relaxing, stretching. Let's go ahead and inhale. Crown of the head, imagine as you get tall in your mountain, the crown of the head is lifting. And with the next exhale, all we do is just let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. We have a space about the size of a small orange underneath that right earlobe. We want some extension to the left side of your throat, neck. And if you haven't already, go ahead and turn the gaze. But it's about 4 breath cycles here as well. Maybe that very last exhale can find the eyes resting on the rightmost of your vision. You can even soften the gaze. With the inhale, we can bring the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up. So all we have to do is exhale towards the left. Find that length in the right side of the neck. When you're ready, you can turn the gaze on an exhale. That helps to emphasize that release. And for the next couple of breath cycles, just see if you can relax with the breath. Palms facing forward if they start to turn in towards the thighs. That very last exhale, engage the core. And then inhale the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up. And all we have to do is allow the exhale to guide the eyes towards the top of the mat, about 6 feet. We're keeping a space between the chin and the chest and feeling almost an imperceptible diagonal lifting at the crown of the head as we inhale. Shoulders are still nice and wide. And on the exhale, still tucked back, melting down the back, if you can feel that with the exhale. Let's go ahead and inhale with your next inhale, the eyes towards the center, past the center. And if you can see the tiles above you or the ceiling above you, go ahead and stop craning the neck and use the next few breath cycles to see if you can release any tension in the jaw, in the throat, even in the tongue, so the eyes can be soft. Your lower jaw can just gently sway from side to side, or it can make a small O to a larger O. You might hear some popping, but not too big of movements, just a small exploratory movement of the jaws. And hopefully you'll find release in the neck and in the front of the throat. Let's go ahead and exhale the eyes back to center. And give yourself any last minute movement. I tend to grip my mat with my feet, so lifting the feet really helps me. And if it helps you, I encourage you to do that in between each of these poses. And as we reset in our mountain once more, let's go ahead and begin with our first forward fold. So just reaching those arms downwards. And eventually you'll get to a point where as you set in this fold, you won't even have to make that extra movement, but just reaching downwards. Let's go ahead and inhale the arms to extend them while we're still reaching. And then exhale, hinge at the hips, engage the core, come on down for your first fold. And keeping the knees bent is just fine. Keep yourself at a comfortable pace. Most of the yoga poses we go through, we start off slow. We just let the body open up. So I'm hoping my mic is not silenced against my skin here, but imagine for yourself that you're just releasing. It's our first forward fold. Kind of call it a rag doll in this respect because we're here for such a long time, about 5 breath cycles total. And generally, we can sway the hips, we can bend one knee and then the other. And it doesn't matter where your hands are. They could be fingertips at the mat, full-on palms at the floor, maybe their hands at the shins, ankles, or even forearms on the thighs. Wherever you are, you're just hoping to find that stability from the heels all the way up to the hips. And then you can hopefully find that release from the tailbone, down the spine, neck, even the crown of the head. So notice if you're holding your head. Maybe you can just nod the head no and yes at the second time. And then let it just dangle. See if you can release that hold on the neck, on the head. And maybe gravity can help you release. All right, when we come out, we're going to come out with a slow roll up of the spine and the body. So go ahead and start inhaling, firming the core, pressing into the feet. Start unfurling the spine, walking the hands up the body if you need. And then the face with a soft gaze, looking out at the center. Just give yourself a breath or two to let the blood rush back to the head. We'll come down for a second fold, a little shorter this time. So now we can reach again down towards the floor. Inhale it to extend those arms upwards, maybe even lifting the torso a bit at the top. Exhale, hinge at the hips, come on down, float down or walk the hands down. We're here for about 3 breath cycles this time, so do what your body feels. May help you release in the upper body while you stay stabilized, using only those muscles needed to keep the stability from the hips down to the heels. After a good deep breath here, we're going to come out. This time you have a choice of either rolling up, as we did before, on an inhale, or you can extend the arms and and come up with one long breath in to help you come up with a straight back. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. We'll go ahead and start our walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale it down. Inhale, left foot up. And exhale that down. It's a one breath cycle per step movement. And if you feel wobbly, you can always press into the palms, engage the core to make sure you come back to center. Looking down at the hands at the top of the mat, let's inhale. Watch the fingertips rise. Separating the palms, we can hinge at the hips and exhale to our third fold. Here, make that contact point and feel the lengthening with the next inhale of the back. We're just trying to lengthen. Maybe you have this 90-degree angle at the hips. Maybe it's more of a 45-degree angle, but you can keep that deep bend to the knees if you need. We're just trying to lengthen through that inhale and then exhale. Go ahead and come back to the fold. We're going to plant our hands, step a right leg and a left leg back. Inhale all the way, shoulders over the wrists, and then we can bring our knees down, untuck the toes, and give ourselves a breath or two here. Feel that support at the tops of the ankles, the arms, and if you feel like your shoulders are a little too far forward past the wrist, then you can always lift the knees and kind of slide back a little bit. You want to keep that nice, strong, extended form at the upper body. And then we can tuck the toes, lift up the hips, exhale the hips back into our first down dog. Here we're staying about 5 breath cycles. And all you need to think about is just feeling out your upside down V. Notice the hands and the feet have firm placement. So if you're tenting your palms, see if you can get more of the palm on the mat. Fingers are splayed. Your heels can be lifted. Eventually, you may get the heels downward, if not on the mat, but don't worry too much about that now. And the position of the head somewhere, ears in between the upper arms. And if you notice that your upside down V is more like an upside down U, maybe you can shorten that distance between the hands and the feet. And again, it takes a while to get your upside down V, your down dog going, so just give yourself some time. Might feel good to roll up on the toes, and then exhale, press into the extended arms, and gently lower the heels downward. And again, they may not touch the mat. That's okay. We're probably coming up on our very last breath cycle here. So with the next inhale, go ahead and look towards the hands. Keep the knees bent if you need. And exhale, walk those hands to the feet. Keep the knees very bent if you're tight in the legs. You can always walk back if you notice yourself a little far forward on the mat. Inhale, let's half lift here. Exhale, let's slide back to the fold. Inhale, engage the core. Come on up, roll your back up or come up with a straight back. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And we'll go into our second walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale the heel, ball of foot and toes down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, ball of foot, heel, ball of foot, and toes down. And as we become more in tune with these movements, it just becomes a shorter series of steps. We get to the top of the mat. Looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms. Inhale, watch them rise. Exhale, separate the palms and hinge at the hips for another fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, place the hands down on the mat. Step a right leg and a left leg back. Inhale the shoulders over the wrists, and we have a nice long high plank this time. Heels to the crown of the head, one nice long diagonal. Pressing into the palms with extended arms, protracted shoulders, nice and strong. It's just a few breath cycles here. And then we can lift up the hips And exhale back into a down dog. And here it's a shorter down dog as well. So give yourself about 3 breath cycles. See if you need to walk the dog. See if rolling up to the toes and pressing into the heels while you keep the core engaged. Keep that upside down V where the hips are lifting upwards and where the hands and the feet are moving downward. Let's go ahead and inhale, look to the hands, bend the knees if you need, and walk the hands to the feet, to the back of the mat. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Engage the core. Come on up. Exhaling hands, down heart center, and finally down to the side. And that should have warmed up your body some, giving you a little bit of warmth inside. Drinking a little bit of water if you need. This is a great time for that. If not, we're going to go ahead and just move to this brief standing pose. Now, typically, if you have a wall near you, a chair, I didn't bring the chair next to me, but I'm just going to stand here for the benefit of those who don't need the prop next to them. But if you have that chair, just keep it nearby so you can reach out and hold it if you felt like you were starting to tip over. And keep your eyes open. If you have a good balance, you can soften the eyes, but I would keep your eyes open. So here in our mountain, we're going to keep our feet about hips distance apart. Have a gentle tuck under of the pelvic bowl. And then that way, we'll get as much of a long length as possible. And you can keep a micro bend to the knees. We don't want to lock out the knees. So feeling underneath the feet like you have an even distribution of weight, that your feet are not rolling out towards the outer edges or rolling in. See if you can have that nice even distribution of weight on all points of the soles of the feet as we were exploring those areas at the beginning of our practice. We'll go ahead and bring the palms to face forward, and then just bring the thumbs facing up so that we can eventually have them above our head. They don't have to touch the palms, but if you can touch them, that's great. If you can't, keep them up. And what we're trying to do is just lift through the fingertips. Keeping the focus sort of unfocused and soft, that's fine, but we want to keep our eyes open. Let's go ahead and keep the palms facing forward once more and let the hands slowly float back to the side. Let the shoulders roll forward and back, alternate shoulders if you need. Wiggle out the elbows, and we'll do this one more time. So feeling nice and supported in our mountain, core engaged. Let's go ahead and inhale the palms up. And if you can reach and touch the palms together, that's great. We're going to lift up through the torso, through the fingertips. See if you can bring your eyes to look right at the palms. If you can't go there without feeling dizzy, then just bring your eyes to somewhere out in front of you, but more towards the ceiling. Eventually, we want just to be able to look at our hands at one point. Let's go ahead and bring the hands down, heart center, and down to the side. And for some of us, having that ability to stand still while we change our orientation of our vision can sometimes make us a little unbalanced. So that's just a good way of focusing, bringing cultivation to our focus. Now let's go ahead and bring our body down to the mat. We're meeting in an all-four position, hands, knees on the mat. And if you can, bring something like a folded blanket to help your knees if they like to complain. Mine do. So do what you can. What we're looking for in our tabletop position here is just basically the knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. If you have carpal tunnel, if you have too much weight bearing on these areas, though, you can help by not having so much of a 90-degree angle at the wrist. Maybe pull forward the hands a little bit, and keep the feet kind of off the edge of your folded blanket so that a lot of the support is in the shin. And again, some of us might have tight ankles where that doesn't really feel good. do your best to try to use a shin support and the tops of the ankles. And again, that's going to depend on your ability to open and support your body with the tops of the feet on the mat. Anyhow, from here, in our tabletop position, we're just going to come into one lunge, and we're just going to extend through one arm. We're feeling the palms and the left shin as supporting the body, the protracted shoulders as we just extend through that right leg. We'll go ahead and bring the right knee back to its original spot under the right hip. Take a breath here to reset. And then extend through the left leg. Flex that left foot. Try to extend through that left heel and feel the support of the two hands in the right shin, top of the foot, so that you can extend through that left leg and engage your core. Keep that engaged. Go ahead and exhale, release the leg back. We're going to bring the knees together and start to bring our blocks if we need. And we're going to bring the heels towards the hips using whatever prop we need. And eventually, we'll just be able to tuck our toes, or keep the tops of the feet flat. But we're using a number of props to help us. You might have a different portion of your hero foundation develop. But as you get here, once you found your spot for the foundation, and you don't have to keep the tuck of the toes if you don't want to, we're just going to walk up the hands to upright position. And if for some reason that does not speak to you, you're always welcome to stay here. You don't need to come up into the upright position. Breathing 2 to 3 breath cycles before we release. To come out of this, if you're upright in your torso, you can just bring the hands out, untuck those toes, and bring the heels back, either with the help of a rolled blanket, a block, or it just might be your hips on the heels. You can gently roll, get a massage in the glutes and at the tops of the shins, calves. Alrighty. And then we're just going to lift up, bring the hands towards the hips. You can lift up a little bit, start to walk the hands forward. You can even use your fists in these gorilla-like fists if that helps. But we're just going to slightly separate the heels and then come on back down. Now we're in more of a fixed fern position where our heels are opening and at the sides of our hips. And internally rotating your thighs inward to help with this sort of pizza slice positioning of our legs right here. And again, if this is easier for you to keep the torso down while you're developing your foundation, feel free to stay here. But once you're able to get to your sweet spot in the foundation, just bring your extra 2 breath cycles, 3 breath cycles in your upright torso position. And breathe. And come out once more. Hands at our sides, lifting up the hips, walking with our gorilla fists if we need. And we're just going to bring the knees to hips distance and then maybe a little wider. We're moving into a child's pose. And again, we're just bringing the hips with the help of props if we need to the heels. And once we've gotten the foundation, then we're just going to bring whatever prop we need to help support the chest as we fold. And today, this is about as far as I'm getting. So it might be good to have two blocks, maybe a different setting, or maybe this is your setting where you go a little deeper, or not. But once you find that spot, you're breathing here 3 to 5 breath cycles, hopefully giving some support to the neck if you don't like natural traction of gravity helping you out with just an unsupported forehead. But again, for all of us, it may look a little different. After you've finished your last couple of breath cycles, go ahead and bring the hands to stabilize the upper body. Remove any props. And we'll go ahead and meet on our belly in a gentle Sphinx position. And coming on down for the first time, especially when we've been flexed in the hips for a while, it feels very nice to get a little bit of opening in the hips. So you can have the tops of the feet on the mat, you can have the tips of the toes, but just see if you can relax while you're on your belly for the first time. And eventually just relaxing the feet as well. They can be directly underneath the hips, or they can be more spread out, pointing the toes more towards the corners of the mat. Whichever position helps you right now. Then we have a lifting up of our Sphinx by just bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders, and you'll notice how the shoulders are feeling. If they're protracted, it should feel like the balls of the shoulders are moving away from each other, and you'll have that nice open, broad upper shoulder feeling like when we're in a high plank. And then you can feel hopefully some support more in the forearms and palms than in the elbows, and keeping the vision set somewhere at about the thumb level. Gentle tuck of the chin. And with each breath here, for the next 3 breath cycles, you're just hopefully allowing the skin on the belly to move. If you notice any contraction of any glutes, quads, toes, even in your core, see if you can relax that. Keeping active just those muscles in the upper body to keep us propped up. And with the very last exhale, all we're going to do is make space for the chest to come down by moving the elbows out to the side. And you can move your cheek down to the mat. Now I've got my right cheek down, but just go ahead and use the other cheek if you're not on the same cheek. Notice if your shoulders lifted. See if you can just relax them. We're going to inhale, pressing in the chest, a little into the pubic area. Lift the head just so you can barely turn the head. And let the neck relax on the other side. And it's only really the apple of the cheek that we've got on the mat here. And again, see if you can release any muscles, any lifted shoulders, any activated glutes, toes. And then one more inhale, pressing into the chest. We're going to walk the fingertips and the shoulders, forearms come back into our general Sphinx position. And then we're going to bring the elbows out and above our shoulders if you can. Pillow the hands underneath the brow line. And from here, if it's too hard on your shoulders to do this, you can also just keep your mouth and your nose kind of smushed and the arms down at your side. But either way, what we're trying to do is just keep the body stable up at the upper torso and above. And we're just going to lengthen the left leg, getting onto the toe tip there. We're lengthening through that left leg, and then just let that leg relax there. Give yourself one more inhale, and we're just going to lengthen while it's still on the mat. Lengthen the left leg, pointing that toe. And then exhale, let it relax. Inhale, lengthen the whole entire leg. Start to engage the glute, the left glute, the lengthening of the leg, and then see if you can lift the entire leg as one unit off the mat. You might only move it a hair, a half inch, barely off of the mat. You might just have an intention instead of any actual movement, but that is what we want, is something nice and long. See if you can lift the entire leg, and then let it come down. Breathe a couple of breaths here. Move the hand position if you need. We'll do that one more time, but with the right leg. And this time we're going to extend with the inhale while our right leg is resting on the mat. We're just extending. You can lift up the onto the right toe if you need to, and then relax back with the top of the right foot. But we're finding length in that leg, and then you're relaxing. Inhale, lengthen once more. Point the toe. Feel the engagement of the right leg, and then see if you can lift the entire right leg. And then keeping that down once you've tried it and it feels nice and long, even on the mat. Okay. And then we're going to bring the legs together. And you can get on the tiptoes and zip up the legs, having the inner legs touching. And then here we really do want to keep the arms up. You can keep the elbows at shoulder length if that helps. And then we're just going to lengthen through both legs, with both legs just straight back behind us. You might lift the tops of your feet. You might even get some of your shins off. And then exhale, release. And then we will meet on our back. So you can extend through one arm and roll onto the back. If you have a different way of doing it, a more favorite way, please go ahead. I tend to roll off the mat when I do this, so I have to inch a little bit my hips and then my shoulders till I'm back on the mat. So here we're meeting in our base bridge position and making sure that the skin on your back is not folded. We're making sure also, if you have the space underneath the neck and that bothers you, you can always have a folded blanket to support the head, giving a little bit of support to the neck as well. If you have this space underneath the lower lumbar, that just gets an uncomfortable compression while you're on your back. This is a great time to keep a folded blanket. This might be a little higher than is needed, but you can do something like this to help support the back. If you enjoy just being flat on the mat, then we're good to go here. We want the feet about hips distance apart. We're moving into our figure 4. So this is a great time for our strap. If you need the help of the strap, and as we're bringing, we'll start with our right foot. So as we're bringing the right foot to rest on the left lower thigh. First thing we want to think about is lifting up the right foot. And if that's feeling good and you feel that the sacrum is still, evenly distributing, supporting the weight, what we want to focus on is lifting the foot and keeping this thigh in this 90-degree angle, and then externally rotating that thigh. You can start to bring this right ankle to rest on the left thigh, and this is where the strap might help. And it's just a series of getting to your first foundation building of the figure 4. If you can get this half, then we're just focused on the contact, making sure this right knee is not folding in towards the chest. If it feels that way, we could just gently rest our right hand at the knee, just to keep it honest, at the thigh. But all we're doing is hopefully opening up. We're opening up our right hip. We're externally rotating the right hip. We're also bringing, a great deal of flexion to the right knee by bringing it to have the right ankle rest on this left knee, left thigh. So give yourself some time. If you're feeling that that's good for you there, then we can lift the left foot. And you might need to grab a hold of the left thigh's material. You might have to switch that strap and help you keep both feet now off the floor. And eventually we get to this point where we've got the lower part of this figure 4 and our back supporting us. You're good here. You don't need to go any further. If you're opening up your hips, if you're getting yourself into this position where you can have the lower sacrum flat on the back, on the mat, you're just opening up through the hips, through the ankles, through the knees. You can keep the next 5 breath cycles in that position, or you can also extend through the left leg, coming into a full figure 4 stretch on our back. And keeping the toes pointed, keeping the foot flexed. That's your choice. It'll just help you if you have that need to stretch out the muscles. You can play with the toe positions of both feet. What you don't want to do is struggle through any point where it's too much for you, and you'll notice your neck starts to crane, your back. So if you're not relaxed in this point, you can always relax from the point before, go back, come back in with less intensity, and you can always just rest where you felt the safest, the most comfortable. So this is all just a process, a practice in helping your body to open up and keep limber. And much of the time, it's just going through the motions. If you've had lots of activity, hopefully this will help you open up and release. All right. I'm pretty sure I've gone through my 5 deep breath cycles at that point. So we're just coming out of our figure 4 by bringing this left foot to land if it was extended and lifted off the mat. Then you can release the left thigh if it was holding on to the left thigh. And before we release this right ankle, we want to make sure we just bring in this right thigh a little bit. And then as we're lifting off the right ankle, we're going to internally rotate the thigh and then allow this right foot to land. And then as you slide down this right leg, just give yourself a little bit of time and space to feel that out. You might be feeling a little fragile. It's one of those very deep hip, openers on just the one side, really. But you do get that deep flexion on the left side as well. So you might feel just a little delicate down there. Go ahead and tap out your right knee. And once your right hip is feeling, a little more stable after that lengthy stretching, then we'll go ahead and Return the right leg to the base bridge position and give ourselves a nice windshield wipe to the right. Allow the right glute to get a nice held massage. And then inhale, press into the hands, the shoulders, just roll the hips back onto the mat and allow a brief fold to the left side. Inhale, roll the knees back up to center. And we'll move to the other side of our figure four. And we'll start with the left leg being lifted now. So inhale, lift the left leg. Give yourself some time. Make sure your sacrum is fully supported. We can externally rotate the left hip, bringing in the left leg just a little before we find that landing. Sticking the landing of the left ankle on the right lower thigh, knee area. Give yourself some time to open up. Notice if the left knee is falling in towards the thigh. And also, I just noticed the sole of my right foot was out towards the outer edge. Make sure you have a nice flat foot, all points of this sole of the foot on the mat. As we're transitioning through the poses, that's when your body starts to move to compensate for that transition in the center of support, of gravity and whatnot. So just be mindful of that if you notice your body moving out of position. All right, so we're here now. We've been sitting for a while. Things have probably opened up. We've found hopefully our sweet spot. And if you're able to, using your strap if you need, we're going to lift the right foot off the mat. So if you can use your strap to bring your right thigh base configuration to a right angle. You can use the material of your right thigh. You can wrap the fingers. All we're looking for is making sure that we have our sacrum nice and flat on the mat. Our neck is not craning. We're not struggling to keep this position. And if you find that you're in a good spot, you can stay here for 5 full breath cycles, or you can extend through the right leg, pointing the right foot, flexing the right foot, doing what you need, making any last-minute adjustments, and returning to the ocean breath to help facilitate. Each inhale can be a lengthening. Imagine just the energy, just air circulating through the lungs, blood circulation, unhindered. Just allowing yourself that release. Done with your last breath cycle, start to come out of your figure 4 by releasing the right foot back to the mat. Once that's there, you can release the right thigh. Give yourself a moment. Internally lifting up the this left leg. We're going to bring it in just slightly before we internally rotate the left hip. Start to lengthen this leg. Allow the left foot to land and extend. Slide that left leg long, nice and long. It's been externally rotated for so long. and tented for a while that it might take some time to release. You might have a bit of a tented left hip, and then with the next few breaths, hopefully you'll find it releasing. Once you found a little more stability there, then go ahead and gently tap out the left knee, point and tap out, point and flex the foot, tap out the knee, and then return this left leg to the base bridge position. Making sure that spine and neck are in alignment. Arms are out to the side, palms down. We're going to let the knees just gently windshield wipe to the left and hold it there. Let the left glute have a nice massage. Let the left side of the body find a little release. And hopefully get a deep psoas release as well on the right side. Remember, you're just rolling to the left edge of your feet. The position of your feet have not moved. It's just rolling them to the left edge of the feet. Then we can inhale, pressing into the arms, the shoulders, rolling the knees back up to center until the sacrum is back on the mat. Then give yourself, we've been windshield wiping already, so you can give yourself a little faster windshield wipe just to release, counter stretch. And then extend through the legs, nice and long. We'll give ourselves a couple of taps with each one. And you can bring the arms above your head if that feels good to you, or just out to the side so you can bend the elbows and bring the palms to face up. I'm not sure what your shoulder situation is, but this is a great time to get a full body massage, stretch, by just being on the back and pointing the feet and toes and stretching the hands wherever you can with respect to your shoulders. And then you can move into your Shavasana, so making sure that your body is feeling warm, supported, wherever it needs to. I'm going to sit up to mind the time. And as you move into your Shavasana, you can bring a blanket to cover you, especially in the colder, chillier weather. You can bring a block to support underneath your knee if you like a little bit of release. If it's feeling tight under the lumbar, having support under the knees helps. And you can close your eyes, thinking about a soft belly, releasing the tongue from the roof of the mouth. And just slowly quieting down. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. Bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose, warmed slightly as it exits the nose. And as you return to the body vessel once more, I invite you to wiggle your fingers, your toes. You can hug in your knees and rock from side to side. And eventually, meeting back in an upright seated position, in staff position for today, just with the legs out in front of us. If your hips are a little tight this morning or this afternoon, you can always sit on a rolled up blanket, blocks, something to elevate the hips a little higher than the knees. But once you're back in an upright seated position, we'll go ahead and end class with a breathing exercise that's going to hopefully awaken our vagus nerve. It just is a great relaxing, sort of end to a practice. And we'll use the breath of our prayer hands and our shoulders and arms. So bringing the palms out to the sides of our hips here, palm side up. Let's go ahead and inhale nice and tall. Bringing the arms up. We're going to have the hands meet either above the head or palms touching. Exhale, engage the core. Gently press into the palms. Come on down, hands to heart center. Hands out to the side once more. Inhaling, bring them up. Exhaling, lift up and turn to the right. Let the hands land. Inhale, hands up. Still lifted. We're going to start to turn on the exhale and let the hands land on the left. Inhale, hands up. Intertwine the fingers. See if you can reverse your palms upwards. Reverse the palms to cradle the back of the head. And just let the hands kind of right here at the thumbs kind of cradle the base of your skull. You can gently lift up the chin and lift through the elbows. Inhaling, exhaling. Engage the core, press out all the air with the belly. Inhaling, feel length in the spine. And we're going to release through the fingers. You're just going to release and start to gently rake the fingers at the base of the skull. And then allow the fingers to just trace underneath the jawline and sort of flick that energy out. We'll do that one more time. Hands up. Interlace the fingers, bring them to the back of the skull. Lift up with the inhale, pointing the elbows. Exhale, start to peel apart the fingers. Let them drag across the base of the skull. And give yourself a little energy flick at the end. Bring the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.